morning, first graders. Welcome to our morning message, and it is Thursday today, so we're going to read our morning message. We'll go over some calendar activities, and then we're going to read a story and practice asking questions. And whenever we read a story, whether it's a fiction story or a nonfiction story, you can ask questions to help you better understand what you've been reading. So we're going to learn how to do that with the story. So let's get started. Good morning, first graders. Today is Thursday, May 14th, 2020. Happy birthday, Promise! So in our class, it's somebody's birthday today, so you can think of a special thing to say in your brain and send that message out into the world, and hopefully Promise can feel that in his heart, even though we're not with him. We hope you have the best day, Promise. Today we will read a story and ask questions. Have a terrific Thursday. Love, Mrs. Rochat. Yesterday was Wednesday. Today is Thursday. Tomorrow will be Friday. I checked the weather, and the weather said that it's going to be sunny and warm, about 73 degrees, but there's a small chance that it might rain, so we'll see. So I put partly cloudy too. A penny is one, a nickel is 5, a dime is 10, and a quarter's 25. Now, boys and girls, we've talked about how to read stories and sound out words, but we've never really talked about how to take a book and ask questions. When you're reading a story, when you're stopping in between the pages, you can stop and think, and you can ask yourself questions. Or after you're done reading, you can even ask yourself questions to help you even get better at reading that book, but also learning more information to help your brain remember. So today we're going to read a story called Little Elephant's Trunk. Now, in this story written by Hazel Lincoln, the little elephant is taking his first wobbly steps. When his trunk, remember his trunk is that part of it's like a nose. When his trunk trips him up. What is this strange thing for? So, in the story, he watches other African animals as they drink, keep cool, cross the river, wallow in the mud, move through the tall grass, and eat juicy leaves. But little elephant is always wondering, how do these elephants do these things? He's asking a question. How do elephants do these things? So little by little, the young elephant learns how to use his useful trunk. Now, before we get started reading, let's look at different ways that we can ask questions. We can use these words at the beginning of our sentences and our thoughts when we're asking questions about a story. Who is the story about? Well, we kind of already know that it's going to be about Little Elephant because it's in the title, Little Elephant. And when I read you the back, I talked about what is going to happen in the story and who is going to happen to. So that goes into our next question, what? What is the story about? The story is about Little Elephant's trunk. It told us in the title and it told us on the back of the book, but we don't know exactly all the details yet. Where did the story take place? Well, we could probably answer that question just by looking at the front cover, but maybe there's other places he goes that we could ask that question later about where was the little elephant. When? What time? Maybe it's a time of day. Maybe it's a time in his life. Like, when did this happen to him? When he was brand new and just born. And how does he use it? How is this information helpful to you? So let's read the story and keep practicing asking questions. Little Elephant's Trunk. Written and illustrated by Hazel Lincoln. All over the land there was a great excitement. It was springtime, and springtime meant babies. Babies everywhere. The chimpanzee's baby clung tightly to its mother. The giraffe's baby nuzzled its mother's face. The tortoise's baby struggled out of its shell. The hippo's baby took straight to the water. The zebra's baby hid in the long grass, and the springbok's baby ran and ran. The elephant had a new baby too. The whole family rumbled with pleasure as they gazed lovingly upon little elephant. You can see all the different elephants and then the baby one right there. Little elephant took his first wobbly steps and fell. Something long and gray was tripping him up. He struggled to his feet and it happened again. But now his mother was calling. The herd was going to the river. I'm going to stop there. I could ask a question. It didn't tell us what that long gray thing that was tripping the elephant is. So we could stop here and say, what is that long gray thing tripping the elephant? That's a question. And you can answer that question in your brain, or you could keep reading to find the answer. I bet you figured it out. Little elephant hurried alongside his mother, stumbling as he tried to keep up. He slipped down the riverbank and fell with a loud splash into the water. He looked down. A face looked back at him, and something odd dangled from the middle of the face. The strange thing was a trunk. Then he realized he was looking at himself, at his own reflection. What was the strange dangling thing for? Oh, look, they're asking questions in the story. What was the strange dangling thing for? What do you think that strange dangling thing is for? Think in your brain your own ideas, and let's keep reading. Little elephant didn't know, but he did know that he was thirsty. The zebra was drinking the water, but little elephant couldn't do that. His trunk got in the way. He looked at the big elephants. They dipped their trunks into the water, put them into their mouths, and drank. Little elephant dipped his trunk into the water, put it into his mouth, and sucked carefully. The cool water was so good. So you can see in this picture, they have the water coming out of their trunk, and they put it in into their mouth. So it's not necessary, it's like a nose almost. They use it, they suck it up, hold it, and then they let it go out into their mouth. So how do elephants drink water? That's a question I have, and I learned that they drink it by using their trunk. Now the sun was burning down. The tortoise was shaded by his shell, but little elephant didn't have a shell. He looked at the big elephants. They were using their trunks to spray water over their backs. This looked like fun. You can kind of see that little elephant is trying to figure it out. He's learning. Little elephant trumpeted with delight as he joined the elephant shower. But now the herd was moving to their feeding ground on the far side of the river. Let's look at our questions. Where is little elephant? Right now, he's in the water. And where are they going? To the feeding ground. So boys and girls, asking yourself questions like who, what, where, when, how will help you be a better reader. Little elephant followed his mother, but the water was very deep, and it kept getting into his trunk. In panic, he scrambled back to the bank. The chimp swung across the river on vines, but little elephant didn't have any hands. How do you suppose he's going to try to get across the river? He looked at the big elephants. They all had their trunks sticking up out of the water. They were breathing by snorkeling. Wow, I never knew that that's what they did. I didn't know that they had to keep their trunk above the water in order to breathe. Maybe that's something they use their trunk for. Ooh, look at this cool picture. Little elephant crashed into the water, thrust his trunk toward the sky, and paddled happily to the other side. When he came out of the river, he sank into thick, deep mud. The mud felt good in the hot sun, and he longed to cover his body with it. The hippos, with their short legs, wallowed in the mud, but little elephant's legs were too long. He looked at the big elephants. They picked up large dollops of mud with their trunks and threw them over their backs. Little elephant tried it. He splattered the cool mud all over himself. It felt wonderful. I'm noticing that elephants' trunks are very important to their survival. The herd was on the move again, pushing their way through the long grass. Now where are they? Yeah, now they're in a new place in the book. They're not in the river. They're not on the banks. They're not in the mud. Now they're in the long grass. The grass was so high that little elephant couldn't see where he was going. He was afraid that he would lose his mother. The springboks leaped over the grass with their graceful legs as they followed their mothers. But little elephant's legs were thick and heavy. They were not made for jumping. Okay, I want you to think, how would little elephant get through this tall grass? Do you think that he'll maybe use his trunk? How do you think he's going to use his trunk to get through the grass? And who is he going to learn from? What is going to happen in the story? Let's find out. He looked at the big elephants. Oh, who helped him? The big elephants. They walked in a long line with their grandmother in the lead. Using its trunks, each elephant held the tail of the one in front. Quickly, little elephant lifted his trunk and grasped his mother's tail. Now he felt safe. Wow. So how do elephants travel through grass? They use their trunk to hold on to the tail. So now their trunk is kind of like a hand for them, that they can grab onto something. Wow, this trunk is so important. At last, the elephants reached the feeding ground. Little elephant spotted some juicy looking leaves, but they were just out of reach. The giraffes with their long necks nibbled delicately on the leaves, but little elephant's neck was very short. He looked at the big elephants. They curled their trunks around the leaves, tore them up, and put them in their mouths. After a little practice, he could reach the lowest leaves with ease. Delicious. You can kind of see how they help each other to get those leaves, and they bring them down and crunch them up. Again, that trunk is so important. The sun had started to dip below the horizon. It had been a long day for little elephant. He was very tired. He snuggled up close to his mother and felt something gently stroking him. What do you think that gentle stroke is coming from? Bet you know. It was her trunk. He curled his trunk around his mother's. What a very useful thing a trunk is after all, thought little elephant. Wow, boys and girls, a trunk on an elephant is so important. Did you know that they use it in all those different ways? You can ask questions now that we're done reading. Like if you wanted to teach somebody about this book, you could ask them questions, or they could practice asking you questions about the story to see if you remember. So here's one of my questions, and I want to see if you remember. And it's going to be on Seesaw if you want to answer it in a recording, or you want to draw a picture of an elephant and tell me what you learned. That would be okay too. But here is my question. I'm going to use our how. How do elephants use their trunks? Now, in this story, it's a fiction story, right? It's fake, but it's not exactly all fake. The story might look like it's drawings and it doesn't have real pictures of real elephants, but it's kind of nonfiction too because it had lots of facts that are true about how elephants use their trunks and how little elephant learned to use his trunk. So that's kind of what makes it a fiction story, because we know that elephants don't have thoughts, they think, but they don't talk, right? And kind of in the story, it was like he was talking. So, boys and girls, what I want you to do today is whenever you're reading a story, I want you to practice asking yourself questions, taking time in between reading the pages to ask yourself who is in the story, what it's about, where the story takes place, when it takes place, and how is that information helping you learn something new. I hope you have a terrific Thursday, boys and girls. I will see you again tomorrow. Bye. Miss you.